You're listening to Ideal Practice, episode number 111. If you've been listening to me for a while, then you know that I've mentioned digital products as one potential way you might could add another revenue stream to your practice. But goodness, how do you do that? What's involved? What do you need to be careful about as you figure things out? Well, that's what we're going to talk about today, along with a couple of other things that I hadn't quite planned on. In my interview with Kim Lange. Kim is a child therapist, a child and adolescent therapist, who has figured this stuff out in a big way and has a lot to share with the rest of us. So, stay tuned. Hi, I'm Wendy Pitts-Reeves, and with over 2 decades of experience in the private practice world, I've built my 6-figure business while learning a lot of lessons the hard way. This is the first podcast that shows you how to apply the principles of energy, alignment, and strategy to build a practice that is profit-centered, but people-forward. This is the Ideal Practice Podcast. Hey, folks, and welcome back to another episode of Ideal Practice. This is your host, Wendy Pitts-Reeves. I'm so happy to be hanging out with you guys again today. I hope you are doing well. How is your energy? How are you doing in terms of managing your energy and in terms of designing your business, your practice in a way that suits your energy? We don't always have the luxury of doing that, but to me, that's a big part of what an ideal practice is all about. And in today's interview, you're going to hear some really creative ways that my guest has done that for herself. So Kim Lange, was a member of the mastermind group that I was in for so long, that I have mentioned many times here on the podcast. If you've been with me for a while, you know I have interviewed a handful of people from that program because, y'all, they were really outstanding people. I met some of the coolest folks, which is another benefit of being in a mastermind. And what they have done with their businesses since that time has often been inspiring to me, and this is no exception. Kim was actually a teacher who then went back to school and became a psychotherapist. When I met her and knew her, she was running an active practice working with children and adolescents in particular and their parents. And even back then, it's been several years ago, I was impressed with how creative she was and the unique ways she found to serve the parents, to help the families of these kids that she was working with. And I thought, even then, that she had something good going on. Well, a lot has happened since then, even more. She has come so far from when I knew her. And I recently stumbled on some of her stuff on Facebook and was like, oh, wow, what is this? What is she up to? You will hear about it in the interview. But the main thing I want to share with you today is that Kim has found a way to use low-ticket digital products in a way that works for her business, works for her practice, but also feeds her soul. Like she is getting to play, to be as creative as she wants to be. She is making money. She is serving the world in a much bigger way than she did even in her practice. And I think she has lots of lessons that are going to inspire you. They certainly did me. I think you're going to enjoy this. So I think there were lots of takeaways. I won't tell you what they are now. You got to listen to find this out. But golly, this was a good one. So join in. And if you've ever even sort of remotely thought there has to be a better way, surely there's some way I can do this that will make life easier for myself, that is fun, profitable, manageable, and really it's just a whole new way of doing business. You got to hear what Kim has to say. So let's do that. Let's get into the interview. All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Ideal Practice. I'm so glad you're hanging out with us today because we're going to have fun today because we're going to be talking about something I have not talked about yet on this program. So it is my highest honor, and it's going to be so much fun. Let me introduce you to my guest and friend that I have reconnected with after a long pause, Kim Lange. Kim, say hi.
Hi, everybody. I'm so grateful, Wendy, to be here and to connect with your ideal practice community.
Amen. Yeah, because you have an ideal practice
I
of your
do.
own. That's what you've been all about from the very beginning.
Mhm.
I'm thinking as I say this, am I saying your name right? Is that how you say it these days?
Yeah, Kim
Yeah.
Lange. The Restivo's in there because I got married when I was later in life. So most people know me as Kim Restivo, but Kim Lange is fine too.
Just dawned on me. I thought I should have asked you that before we started. Okay. Excellent. So, Kim, tell everybody. I always like to tell people where you are because I get
Mhm.
such a kick out of people being scattered out. Tell folks where you are and then a little bit about just, who do you help and how do you help them?
Yeah. I'm in Wilmington, North Carolina. So, southern coastal North Carolina is where I'm located at. And for, I guess, 23 plus years, my practice has evolved. So, the last 15, 16, I had a private practice that specialized in children and adolescents with anxiety. And I've since
Yeah.
evolved to what I'm currently doing is my business is called Emotionanigans, and it is digital and printable resources for child therapists and teen therapists, things that they can use, tools they can use to really create amazing, engaging sessions for their kiddos.
Love that. So when I met you, you and I were in a mastermind together for a long
Hmm.
time, and you had a very active psychotherapy practice,
Hmm.
and you were working with kids and adolescents. And I used to work with teens. I quit working with little ones a long time ago because it got too hard to sit on the floor. But I remember even back when you and I first met, which has been several years ago now, you were really good even then at pulling together resources and beginning to package things for the parents of the kids
Hmm.
that you were working with. I remember that, right?
Yeah, that's where I started branching out. So I had my practice and I evolved that to a great level. And then I started looking outside of my practice to see what would be fun. And it did start with supporting parents. And I started with a parenting course, which was chock full of resources and content. And yeah, I did that for not very long because I didn't like the launch model. I was like,
Mm,
it was that do a webinar, enroll people in your course. Maybe they participate, maybe they don't participate. Um, and the stress of it all, honestly, of the launch model
hmm
was just not fun for me. I think I did it twice, and then I transitioned to parent community. That was more in alignment with my personal style and energy management. Plus, it tapped right into what you just mentioned, which is I got to show up and be with my people each month. We'd have calls and things like that. But I also got to make them things, which is what I'm doing now. And I just love it. So I would make them different resources each month, things they could do and use with their kids. So that's kind of where things
Huh.
evolved to. Um, and yeah, I just love
So
making things now.
you're super creative, that's for sure. So the people who listen to this may or may not. There will be folks who are very aware of the launch idea, but not
Hmm.
everybody will. So I want to make sure that I want to clarify that what that means.
Hmm.
So any of you who are listen, if you have ever bought a course of any kind, or if you follow any kind of online coaches or gurus, teachers of any kind, you will see this is when emails start showing up in your inbox announcing a workshop, a program, a webinar, a challenge, any kind of a come on in and pop in and we're going to do this thing together. And then from there, if things go well, you give them an opportunity to work with you at a deeper level and you may offer them coaching, you may offer them a course, whatever. I've done that myself plenty of times. And that is a very common way to take your practice or your revenue online to earn income online. But what you're saying, so and the coach that we were working with, that's how she did things, right?
Hmm.
So you tried
Yeah.
that, didn't love it because there is a lot of work to it. It's a lot of work, right? And a
Yes.
lot of anxiety.
Yes.
I didn't know that. So you tried that a few times and went, yeah, this I don't love this so much. And you said parent community. Was that like a membership group? Is that what you were doing? at that
Yeah,
point?
so after there, I think in between there was a year or so where I didn't do much of anything online. I just focused on my practice. I was newly married, that kind of stuff. But then when I got back into it, I decided to try the membership model, which was it was a monthly membership for parents again, and each month
Mm.
we'd focus on a different concept of I called it navigate helping you learn to navigate children's emotional world. So it was different parts of children's emotional worlds. We'd focus on that each month. There were live calls, there were trainings, there were guest speakers, all of that kind of thing. And I loved it. It was really fun thing to do. And I had a very small but engaged community. Which I just, yeah. So that was kind of the next evolution into the online world after the course was launch method that you just mentioned was
Right,
just too energy draining for me. So
right.
this one was more in alignment with how I like to create.
So one way to think about this, it just occurred to me, this is like an online support group in a way. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yes.
right, for parents,
Yeah.
but it was like did you do it on Facebook or did you do it on some other platform?
I
What
was
did you
on
use?
Mighty Networks.
Mighty Networks. All right.
Yeah.
So some of the ones that Mighty Networks is a common one. Circle is a new one that's getting a lot of attention.
Yeah.
Um, and we should say that there's a benefit to that. So Facebook groups, this is great, Kim, because I hadn't even thought about this, but I love that we're starting here. Um, Facebook groups are very common. All of us are members of probably a handful of Facebook groups, right? And you can do a Facebook group for your community that is free and or is paid, but there's a certain amount of control you don't have there and a certain amount of safety you don't have there because Facebook can take that away just as quickly as you can build it. I had a coach back before you and I ever met. I had another coach. I remember this story. She had 2,000 something people in a Facebook group that she was actively marketing to I don't remember if they were paid or free, but overnight, Facebook decided that she was doing something that they didn't like, and they closed her down, shut her down, and she lost all of those names and could not get them back.
Yeah.
I
I've
still
heard
remember that.
stories
That
like
was
that too. Yeah.
Yeah, that was years ago. So you created your own community for parents. But what I'm hearing you say is that you had this course thing. I'm sure you pulled from that, and you were creating new material, new tools, handouts, worksheets, that kind of
hmm
stuff. Is that what you did?
Yeah,
Okay.
each month, yeah, so definitely evolved from the course and the material, was just an evolution of the course material,
Yeah.
but it went deeper because we were together for a longer time. We didn't have to just show up each week and crunch through. There was that space, to see what evolves for the parents I was talking to. But definitely if the structure of it, if that part would be helpful, is
Yeah.
I think we had a call with me a month, and we just opened it and talked about the theme, but it was open for whatever people needed support with. Then we had usually a guest speaker of some on the topic. So
Mm.
one month we did maybe nature therapy, and we had someone talk about nature play. Another time we did, um, you know, how to be and speak about food in a healthy manner versus good and bad food. So we had an expert on to speak about that and not be engaged in diet culture kind of speaking and with your
Yeah.
kids. So
Yeah.
and then we also had what was called the Kid Zone, and that's where I made printables and fun activities and taught them things they could do with their kids that would tap into this kind of social emotional learning and connection. So those are kind of the things that were in the membership.
So were you meeting once a month with that group?
Yes.
Once a month. And it was paid. They paid to be a part of it
Yes.
on a monthly
Yeah.
basis, right?
Mhm.
So once a month for what, an hour, couple of hours?
It was usually about an hour because it was during the workday, so people usually are kind of scheduling it that
Yep.
way.
Yep.
But if it ever went long, I was there. I enjoyed those calls a lot, so I liked
I
it.
love that.
So
Yeah.
if it went long, it was fine with me. But usually it was about an hour. Mhm.
So the other thing I'm hearing about this, and I know that this is relevant to what you're doing now, is that you had a simple structure
Mhm.
that didn't require a whole lot of people. You did put some thought into it. You had to find a guest speaker or you had to think about what the theme was going to be.
Mhm.
But it sounds like it didn't take a massive amount of planning. And then you just got to kind of come up with a tool, come up with a worksheet, come up with an exercise, which was fun. You enjoyed. I love that. Yeah, that makes
I
perfect
will tell
sense.
you the one thing that
Yeah.
it didn't occur to me, so that's why I'm going to share it here.
Yeah. Yeah.
But where that all sounds like, oh yeah, that's so doable. That's so doable. And it is. The thing that is consuming, or if you decide to do it,
Yes.
is the community. So
Yes.
if you're going to run it as a community, you need to be driving the engagement in your community. You need to be making posts for people to respond to. You need to be starting discussions. You need to be answering questions as they pop up. Mighty Networks is set up very similar to Facebook, where there's a feed, people make posts. But
Mm-hmm.
if you have, and again, my community was small, if you have a small group, there's not that mass of
Yep.
people to push it over to where they're filling that space. So in order to not have a ghost town, a lot of your time and energy, a lot of my time and energy went into creating that community feel, engaging with the community, keeping it going besides those three deliverables that I just mentioned. So that's
Mm-hmm.
something else to take into account if anyone is considering a membership.
That's a really great point. I was going to ask you what were some of the challenges that you had with that because you're not doing that anymore for a reason, I'm sure. Yeah.
But not the reason you'd think.
Okay. But what you're saying, I had a Facebook group for a while and I ran it for a year or two. And there were some things about it that were easy and fun. And there were some, and it was exactly that. It was really hard if you don't, and depending upon what your numbers are, to get people to talk to each other, to get people to engage. Most people just sit back and watch. Or they're already a part of so many groups, they're not even paying attention. They don't remember yours from somebody else's or whatever. So you're right. It's kind of like trying to keep the conversation going at a party and you're the
Mhm.
one doing it.
Yes,
That's
yes.
right. Good. That's a really good point. Yeah. What else was hard about that or challenging about that? Or maybe not challenging, maybe just unexpected that people kind of need to be alert to. Was it like, did you have to get new people in all the time? Were you having to work to market it?
See, one of the things that I never quite got to click was the marketing piece. And
Mm-hmm.
I believe in retrospect, it was a conscious choice I made, but it made marketing super, super difficult. I did challenges, I did webinars, I did podcasts, I did summits, I did all the things to
All the
try and
things.
see what would help people join our community because I knew how awesome it was. But
Mm-hmm.
the piece in retrospect, and again, I closed my membership in 2020. The piece in retrospect was that, and again, it was a conscious decision, but I refused to market to pain points. I refused to market to something's wrong with your child. I refused to be like, this is a group for people with kids with anxiety or kids with,
Yeah.
whatever thing. I just wanted it to be about we all need to learn certain things that aren't taught anywhere
Yeah.
about how our emotional systems work and how we can speak to kids about these really important topics that help
Yeah.
them. At my core of everything I do is to create a world where kids grow up loving themselves. That is just my core for being, is to
Mm.
help people do that. And so I just marketed from that position. And when it really made it hard, I think, for people to see if it was for them or not, because there was no noticeable problem I was solving. It just
Yeah.
had to be you just wanted to learn these things. And
Yeah.
so growth was slow. It did grow, but it was slow. It was a struggle. So I would suggest having a clear solution than just, we're going to just talk about everything. I think that was a flaw in my
Oh, well, I was
decision
going to
there.
say, if you had to do over again, would you do it the same way? Or is that something that has changed since then? Have you learned that actually you do need, like, has your thoughts about that, have your thoughts about that changed? Yeah.
Honestly, I have seen some amazing parent memberships that are thriving out there, and I say kudos to those people. They do market to a specific diagnosis or problem or issue going
Mm-hmm.
on with kids,
Mm-hmm.
and I wouldn't do it differently because it's not
Yeah.
in my heart
Yep.
to pinpoint kids in that way. Again, nothing wrong with that. Obviously, I'm a therapist. I diagnose kids all the time. And it
Yep.
was, it was, I couldn't mark it from that place. There was something inside of me that wouldn't let me do it. And to this day, I wouldn't change it. I learned so much from the process, and I'm just really excited to where it brought me to, because
Yes.
all of those experiences that I ran it for 2 years, the 2 years I ran my Growing Up Confident membership, it was lovely. I know this is the
Yeah.
families I supported got a lot out of it. I got a lot out of it. And I really just honed my skills for what I'm now
You're
doing.
doing now. This is great. So this is such a good lesson. If I can, I just want to put a pin in this because this is the whole concept behind ideal practice. You have to do your business your way.
Mhm.
And just because other people say strategically or whatever, this is good marketing, you got to do it this way. And there is a reason for that. I would, as a business coach, I would say that myself. But for you, I don't care if that's how you need to do it. It doesn't fit. It's not in alignment with who I am and how I like to talk. And it, like those of us who are in the mental health world or any kind of licensed medical professional, diagnoses are the language we use. And there are lots of folks who have trouble with that idea. Like we want to normalize kid behavior and not pathologize everything, right? And so I understand where you were trying to go was like, I don't want to talk about the problems. This is just stuff everybody needs to know. And don't worry, the problems will be better because this is stuff everybody needs. What I'm hearing for you is that you gave it a good shot. You did it in a way that fit with who you are. Maybe it didn't work the way you wanted it to from a business perspective, but it was not wasted time. You learned a lot from it and you've carried that forward. Great. Awesome.
Absolutely. Hmm.
Love it.
And I
Do,
will
yeah.
say, when I closed my parenting membership, if you'd asked me 6 months before if I was going to close my membership, it would have been an astounding no. Like,
Yeah.
this transition was nowhere on my radar, and it was in no way a reflection of me not liking my membership community.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, can you tell us about that? Like what did happen?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
So
I'd love to
what
hear that.
happened, which is something that happened to everybody, was the pandemic.
Yeah.
So what
Yeah.
happened in 2020 is the pandemic happened, and for those of us that are therapists, and I'll just share for those that aren't, we were
Yeah.
all pushed rather rapidly into telehealth
Yep.
with very little warning. Everything closed. We were all in telehealth and trying to support, for me, children and teens and parents over telehealth was brand new. I know there were people that were already doing it, but most of us were not doing it. Most
Yeah,
of us
that's
were
true.
brand new. I had a little leg up in that I already had my setup with my microphone and my screen from doing the webinars and things like that. So I already was a little ahead, but not with engaging kids over the screen. And so
Yes.
what I did was, at that time, I think it was April of 2020. No, it might have been March when everything closed.
Yep.
Yeah, because it was March or April of
Yeah.
2020. I opened a free Facebook group. So I'd already had the experience from running my membership on Mighty Networks. I felt really comfortable and confident that I could run a free group on Facebook. Um, it was originally called teletherapy activities for kids. It's now called telehealth and counseling activities for kids, because we do
Yeah.
in-office and telehealth things now. But at the start, it was just, let's support each other in this transition. So there were things we
Got
had to
it.
learn. We had to make new consents. We had to figure out how to be on screen. We needed, you can't just reach over to your Lego bucket and pull it out with your kids anymore. You're like on the
Yeah.
screen, like, oh my goodness.
So
So
y'all,
there
let
was,
me, so for people who don't work with kids or who are not psychotherapists, it, this is of all the things with the pandemic, because you're right, it happened literally overnight. I went home from a 5 o'clock session in person and started coughing and thought, I don't know what's going on, but just in case. And we didn't even know what it was at that point. We just knew something was happening, right? Overnight, I went online. Overnight, I texted all my clients that night and said, tomorrow we're meeting online. And for 2 years after that, that's how it was. So it literally, but for all the people that I talked to and saw during that time, it was people who work with children and teens to some extent, but kids especially, and elders that had the most trouble with it because they could not either they could not navigate the technology, or you lost the privacy issue. You couldn't be alone with a 6-year-old because the parents had to come in and get the tech going. How do you keep a 6-year-old engaged when they're looking at a screen and talking to you as a talking head? So I'm hearing this, that it was a whole new world, legally, when you talked about the consents and the paperwork, but also therapeutically. Golly, what do I do with these kids now? And you started figuring that out. Is that what you're saying? You started figuring it out.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I saw there was a need for us to, and other people were figuring it out too. And I wanted there to be a place for us to
Yeah.
come together and share our ideas so we didn't feel so alone in this process, that there was a place that if you were feeling stuck or feeling alone, that you could come and be like, okay,
Yeah.
these are great ideas. I love this, because it wasn't, well, I am a creator. I consider myself a creator. I love creating. There are tons of other creators out there, and I get to lift them up as well. So I curate a lot to this day. I still curate a lot of resources and put them in that group, because it just saves therapists time now. And then it kept the practices afloat, because they
Yeah.
didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to do at the start.
Wow.
And so it was finding people that did, sharing their stuff, learning along the way, sharing my stuff, and just coming together in that process.
And that was
And that
not
group,
monetized, right? At that point, it was
no,
just
that was a
you were,
free Facebook group because I was
yeah.
still running my membership. I ran my membership till about August, when it became apparent that this group has a great energy. There's just something
Wow.
really great here. I need to focus on this. It was flowing. I don't remember
Mm,
how fast it grew in those 6 months, but it was
mm.
definitely, thousands of people were in there. It was a
Wow.
rapid growth group just due to the timing of everything, and they were engaged and supporting each other. And I knew the core of being able to sell anything online is having an engaged audience. And so
And you know
that
why they were
was
so
there.
engaged? They were engaged because they had a problem you were solving,
Yeah.
right?
Yep. Yep. How to
The
do
irony is
telehealth
pretty
with
striking.
kids. Yeah. Yeah.
That's
No,
funny.
but it wasn't labeling anybody. It wasn't
Yep.
labeling them like you're a bad therapist because you don't
Yep.
know how to do telehealth. It was,
Yeah.
you know what? We all need to learn this versus saying
Well,
you have this
hmm
problem. Yeah, I mean, we do. Yes, selling things involves problems. You're right. But
solving
for some
problems.
reason, it felt more helpful and supportive than stigmatizing in my brain.
Well, it does. I mean, I totally get that. It's just funny. The irony cracks
Yeah.
me up a little bit.
No,
The
it's the
timing was
truth
really
in
good.
marketing. I'm not
Yeah.
disputing that. I just wasn't able to do it with my membership.
So you had both of these things going. So you had an active in-person practice. You
I
had
did.
the parent group going,
Yeah.
and then the pandemic happens. And just because there was a need for it, your sweet, loving self was like, "Here, everybody," and you started helping your colleagues essentially,
Hmm.
and it
Yeah.
took off. Um,
Yeah. So for those from March to August, I had my private practice, I had this free Facebook group, and I had my community, my membership on Mighty Networks. All
wow,
three of those are going for a while there.
wow, wow. Okay, and then at some point you made the decision to let one go. Was
I
that hard to
did.
do? Yeah.
It was very hard because I loved the people in my membership. I was very connected. I just loved it. But from a business standpoint, I saw more potential, and more energy with what was going on in the free Facebook group at that time. So I knew that I needed to close the membership.
Okay. All right. So love you all. See ya. Gotta go.
Yeah.
um, well, I mean, but this is also the nature of growth, isn't it? We have to
Hmm.
at some point decide to let something go. When I left my group practice, which also happened that year, I didn't think I would ever do that. I actually thought I would probably die there. I literally did not think I would ever, ever, ever be able to leave that group. And
Hmm.
it was a super hard decision. But once I got on the other side of it, once I understood it and understood the wisdom of it, understood the how to of it, and did it, it was like, oh, well, look, there's a whole new world over here.
Hmm.
Huh? Who knew? So letting one group go opened up possibilities to serve even more parents through what you had started with other therapists.
Yes.
Right.
And I'm a big believer, having experienced burnout as a teacher way back in the beginning of my career. I am a big believer in that I don't have to, I give myself permission not to blow out of things. I don't have to
Mm,
burn out to transition. I don't have to burn out and blow out to make a
mm,
decision to do something else. I can make a conscious decision that this has been lovely and this is
mm.
what's next, and not feel like it failed, not
Yes.
feel like I'm quitting, not feel like I should just continue with it to because I said I would. You know,
Yeah.
I believe that, or
Hmm.
wait till I'm so exhausted and making mistakes and doing things terribly that, I don't ever want to be in that position again. So I'm really conscious about when those feelings start to creep in of I kind of don't I think this is ending, and being really
Huh.
conscious of if I don't listen to those messages within myself, if I don't hear them, I know what's coming and it's not
Yeah.
pretty.
I
So,
had forgotten that you had been a teacher. You were a
mhm.
teacher before you became a therapist, right?
Yeah, I was a teacher, a special education teacher for 5 years before going back to school and becoming a therapist.
I
Yeah.
forgot about that. Huh.
Mhm.
Well, I was going to ask you, what role do you think mindset and energy has played in all of this? And that's what you're talking. And it was funny before we got on before we started recording, I said, what did I say? Something like ease was your word, that your
Yeah,
mantra or
it's
something
ease
like
and
that.
space. Yeah.
Ease and space. Yeah.
And I'll add cozy. Cozy is one of my, they're like, what's your core value? Coziness.
I love it. Cozy, easy. Yeah,
Yeah.
space. Yeah.
Space. Yeah. I um I'm
Hmm.
not a what you would call a high energy person, just the way I'm wired. And so I have to be very conscious of where I'm putting
Mm,
my energy. I have to be very conscious of what it's going to, because it takes me a while to recoup it after I've spent it. And
mm-hmm.
for me, my capacity, it varies just like everybody. My
Yeah.
capacity varies depending on the day, depending on a lot of factors.
Yeah.
And so as I've gotten well to this point, I've really learned, and I didn't know it before, but I've really learned that I focus. In fact, there's a sticky note on the bottom of my computer that says, what is your capacity, to check in with myself each day. And I
Mm,
have had the privilege of evolving my business to where I can run it from what my capacity is each day. And
mm,
each step in my business I've made has been towards more time freedom, more financial freedom, um, and now more creative freedom.
mm,
And those things are things I value a lot, because to be able to wake up each day and be like, I just can't. And there's some days
yeah.
like that. And to be able to be like, it's okay,
Yeah.
tomorrow is another day. It's so important to me, to be
Wow.
able to do that. And I just at the end of last year, where are we? 2024. So the end of 2023, I actually closed my private practice. I retired from private practice. Again, not
Goodness.
because I didn't love every minute of it, but because it was time for what's next. It was time for my energy to go towards creating things for other therapists.
Mm,
And I will say, it is lovely to have a schedule that is mostly space. Like,
uh,
obviously, meeting with you was like an appointment on my calendar. I had to show up at a certain time, but I have very few of those on my calendar currently. It is space
wow.
for me to create or do admin stuff or do what needs to be done in the moment in the day. And as someone, some of you may relate to this, who went from being a teacher, who your time is all structured for you, to being a therapist, which is about, I was in community mental health first and then private practice. It's like you show up when you need to show up. You show up for the
Mm-hmm.
people that you're supporting, that you're guiding along their journey.
Mm-hmm.
And but your life is structured by those appointments.
Yeah.
And so to be at a point in my life where I don't have them is I love it. I wouldn't have probably loved it 10 years ago. I'm
Hmm.
not saying this is for everybody, but where I am right now and what I'm learning about myself and the evolution, I love having this space and this ease. I am not about hustle culture. I'm not about any of
Yep.
that. I'm about creating things that excite me. I'm about following my energy because
Yeah.
I know in my business, the things that give me energy are actually going to be things that are most well received. When I try to push something out, it doesn't do
Yes.
as well.
Yes, that's so important. I always say enthusiasm sells,
Mhm.
which is basically when it's real for you and it's joyful for you, it's really easy to share with other people, and other people are going to follow your lead because it's catching. It really is
Mhm.
catching, and it's not made up. It's not manipulative. It's real. It's in alignment with who you are. I love this so much, Kim. So I wanted to talk with you because I see that I really am curious about what you've done with digital products, but but the sort of extra lesson that we're getting here today that is just so rich and so perfect is that it's really about designing and redesigning your business in a way that suits you. And I love that you said you follow your energy and your capacity. That's just so great. And y'all, what got us started on this morning was that I came in on two wheels because that's kind of how I live. And I'm always sort of flying from one thing to the next. And Kim was just like, no, I'll blissed out.
No, but I appreciate people that are like that. I have a number of people that are like that and that they are just high energy, go, go, and they thrive in that. They thrive and they love it. And I appreciate those people. I have a number of them in my life. They're wonderful. But when I try to do that, I could last maybe a month and then I'm like cocooning for like 3 months. It's not a pretty thing. I
I
just
love
wallow
it.
around going, I just can't. So
Help me.
yeah, I need to be more mindful. But again, it's something I've learned about myself over
Yeah.
time. I
Yeah.
didn't know this in my 20s or 30s or anything
Yeah.
like that. I've learned
Yeah.
as I've done things.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
And praise, my southern was about to come out. So I say, praise the Lord. We like to me, this is one of the unexpected joys of business ownership is that you have the freedom to change things, to try things, to figure out what works. So as a coach, I've worked with a lot of people in private practice, of course, and I like there are healers, and when I talk a lot with therapists, but not just therapists, but there are people who like to work, do 10-hour days and don't take a break. And then there are people who can only see three people a day and would rather spread it out over 10 days or whatever.
Mhm.
Like there are people who need a half-hour break in between people, can only handle 5 appointments a week. And there are other people who are doing 40 appointments a week, which I think is insane.
Yeah.
I tend to like more. You're right. I tend to be busier and I have found that if I have too much free time, I don't get anything done. I do better with structure. I need structure. And so I will create structure, even if it's artificial, because it keeps me moving. Otherwise, I tend to just like zone out and not do anything. But I will admit, I mean, there's a part of me that's just sort of like just hearing you talk. I'm like, oh, I want some of that. It's really nice.
Well, and I've learned, I
Yeah.
will say I've learned because everything I've started, I pretty much started following somebody else's model of how to do it.
Yes.
When I went back and talked about the webinar launch, like that
Yep.
was somebody else's model. This is how you do it. When I started my private practice, it was 5 days a week, 8 clients a day,
Yep.
book them all. Some show up, some don't. Like it was full on. That's what you do. And
Hmm.
so I learned that's what you do. And I would do it and I would do it.
Yeah.
Well, it went fine. Well, the course, but but the client's fine.
Yeah.
But then as that inner learning of like what really works
Yeah.
for me. And I think that we have a tendency to look for answers outside of ourselves.
Yes.
Um, and still do it, especially when I'm learning something new. I would tend to trust somebody else and be like, well, you've been through it, tell me how to do it. But there's so much power, so much value in saying to yourself, but how do I want to do it? What
Yeah.
do I want to create? What's my vision for my business? What do I want it to look like? What do I want my life to be like? Because when you're creating your own business, it is an evolution of your identity. It is an evolution of
Yeah.
your life. It is all of those things. So why create something you hate and drags
Yes.
you down? But again, this is all kind of new knowledge for me. I've been working on it for the last 3 years, probably this kind of capacity and follow the energy and really trusting that, while there might be strategies, I do need to learn from somebody else, like maybe how to set up my
Yep.
automation in ConvertKit or something.
Yep.
Like there are things I need to learn from other people, but how to structure my business, what products to create, what's next on my to-do list. I don't need to look outside of myself for answers for those things. I
Yep.
can trust that I know best.
In AA or in 12-step groups, they have a saying like, keep what's useful and ignore the rest. Right.
Mm. Hmm.
And I say that to clients all the time. And I feel like that as a coach. I feel like that as a business owner myself. We learn from everybody, and we take bits and pieces from everybody, right? I wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't for the stuff I've learned from coaches at all.
Hmm.
Like they have been life changing for me. And you still have to make it your own. And so give yourself permission to explore and to experiment. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Try something. And if it fits, great. And if it doesn't, change it a little bit. Try something
Hmm.
else. Yeah. So let's talk about what you're doing today. So that group that started off as just a service, let me help out my buddies here. We all need some help, has really, really taken off. So tell us about Emotionanigans, which I love that name, and about your Facebook group and all that you've got going on now. Let's talk about it and let's dig into the digital stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, so it took a while. It probably took a year. It wasn't until 2021 that I opened up my shop. Um, so I spent time just really being present and showing up in my Facebook group. And plus life was hard then. Life was
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah.
So and living life. Um, so it wasn't until the next year, 2021, that I launched Emotionanigans, which is my online shop. And I only launched with 3 products. Because I think it's important to get proof of concept. If you have an
Mm,
idea of something you want to do, there's sell it.
yeah.
You know,
Try it.
see if
Right.
it sells, see if
Yeah.
people want it. I had the great benefit of having this group of people that were popping in and asking for things. So I had that to know, well, these things, they're asking if these things exist. So I could see what therapists were already asking for, what they might need. And then what was fun for me to make. So I started
Mm,
with just three activities. And when I say my activities, they are a range of different things, but in general, they are printable PDFs, and or if it's for telehealth, they're slideshows you can use on your screen. Um, I do have some card games, and I have one that is designed for telehealth. That's a digital card game that you can play
mm.
on your screen with kids. So
Wow.
those
That's
are
cool.
basically my activities are and they're again to engage kids on their therapeutic goals. They're not just random activities. They are
Okay.
focused on therapeutic goals.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. It's not just how to
But
play all afternoon.
yeah,
But
yeah,
but
which
you
there's something good there too. But yeah, but just launched with
okay.
3. I just put 3. I found the simplest way to get them out there and to collect money for them. And I shared them in my Facebook group, and I sat back to see what was going to happen. And
Mm,
I shared them in other Facebook groups that allowed marketing and promotional posts as well. So I launched with Unboxing Emotions, but it had 2 different age groups. And it was basically a scavenger hunt. It was a screen share, and there were different boxes, and kids would pick a box to open, like the unboxing videos on YouTube. Which box do you want to open? They'd pick a number, you click it, and it goes to a prompt like it's just a scavenger hunt prompt. So find
huh.
something that brings you comfort. And so the kids would go around the room, because this is telehealth, and come back to the screen and show you something that brings them comfort. And I made 2 different versions of that, one for children and one for teens. And then I launched with Stranger Thinks, because that was just super fun for me to make.
Stranger Thinks.
Yeah, Stranger
Yeah.
Things. So it's kids are really into Stranger Things, the TV show. And
Huh.
so I used that theme and came up with Stranger Thinks, which is teaches strategies to tend to negative thoughts and they practice those strategies to escape the upside down, which is the bad place in Things, if you don't know that.
I don't know that.
Yeah. But teens really were, a lot of teens were into that show. So those were my first three activities. I put them out there and I just was like, let's see what happens. I found a platform that to sell on that only charges if you sell something. I didn't have a website. I didn't have anything. I put them up on PayHip, which is the platform I still use.
Hey
And
Hip. I've not even heard of that one.
yeah,
Hey Hip.
PayHip,
Okay.
PAYHIP.
Huh.
And it allows you to have a page to sell, a link you can send people to, and you don't need a website, you don't need anything, you can just see what happens.
Is that like kind of like Etsy for digital products? Is it sort of like
It's
that
not a
idea?
marketplace, no.
Okay.
So I decided, again, at my core, as being free, and again, this may be not the right decision. It felt like the right decision for me. It still does. I'm not on a marketplace. But if you're considering this, one of the things to think about is if you want to be on a marketplace, which is like Etsy or Teachers Pay Teachers, and marketplaces are where you're there en masse with everybody else. So
Mm-hmm.
what they give you is they give you a inbuilt audience, as long as you can figure out their algorithm to get people to see your stuff. So
Yeah. Yeah.
that's what they give you, but they take, a chunk of your sales. So
A percentage of some sort.
I didn't
Mm-hmm.
want to be committing to a monthly fee when I didn't know if anything was going to sell. I
Okay.
didn't want to be committing. And again, I had the vision of, this is something, I just had the vision that this is going to be something incredible. The success here is inevitable. And
Yeah.
so I didn't want to start on a marketplace. However, there are people that starting on a marketplace is really the best decision, because I had to figure out sales tax. I had to figure out things like that, check with my accountant, there were pieces of the puzzle that I needed to figure out. It wasn't just slap something on PayHip, as I'm making it sound like. I had to know, in North Carolina at this time, not giving people advice here, but digital products are taxable. So I had to figure out how to
Mm-hmm.
charge sales tax, even selling through PayHip kind of
Mm-hmm.
thing.
So the pros
So
and cons of working through a platform that's more of a DIY thing is that you're going to have to figure out all the stuff around the edges
yeah,
versus you sign up for some kind of a platform that has already got all that figured out for you.
yeah.
And there are, as always, always are. There are pros and cons to both of those, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah, yeah. So do your due diligence and research things carefully.
yes.
But I'm struck by something. So when you said something really important, I want to make sure people heard, which was that if you've got something, you got an idea for a product, and we're not talking about programs like courses. We're not
Mm-mm.
talking about services like counseling or yoga. We are talking a product, something people can buy and use, a digital product, something they can get online. You said sell it first, right?
Yeah.
The coach that I currently follow, it talks about sell it before you make it. And I have always done that. Mostly because I was too lazy to make it if nobody was going to buy it. So, and I'm a really high quick start. So I have an idea and then I launch it and then people buy it and then I go make the thing, right? So,
Yeah.
but what
And
you're describing, yeah, yeah,
that model works great for courses. And when I did my courses, definitely that's how I did it, because there's more of uh, well, I'm not gonna say it. There's a
motivation.
significant time commitment to putting
Yes.
together a really good course, because usually it's
Yep.
multiple modules, all of those types of things.
Yep.
But your digital product, you do need to have it completed before you can sell it,
Yes.
because they're going to get it immediately when they buy it. That's the
Right. They
perk.
download it.
That's the perk of a digital product, is click the
Yeah.
button, have it in your printed out. It's in your hot little hands. You can use it today in your sessions. So there is that difference of, you do have to make it, but you don't have to make, like, some people give advice. I've seen it, like, get 100 things in your store.
Oh
And,
gosh.
I'm like, you don't
Mm-mm.
have to make 100 things. Make a
Mm-mm.
couple of things and see if your audience responds to them. See how your audience responds to them.
Mm-hmm.
Is kind of what I'm
Yeah.
saying.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, you said proof of concept. So make sure that you're on the right track, that this is something people want. But what struck me was when I think of this, I think of PDFs, worksheets or handouts or journal prompts or ebooks. or audio recordings or like a, but you were making, you said slide decks for telehealth, but also you were creating online games.
Hmm.
Like how do you, I'm just going to show my ignorance here. How do you create a card game that you can play with kids online in a digital setting? How do you do
Well,
that?
there is, I used another platform, which is a free platform, and it's called playingcards.io. And they have it where you can set up you have to make the files, but you can then put your own game on there. They have games on there that you could use that are just basic games, but you can also have a file to upload your own game and play it on
Mm.
playingcards.io again. So they're PCIO files. So I turned my game Toss Your Cookies is super popular. It's played Uno style, but it's a fun way to you do exposures for emetophobia, which is fear of
Mm.
vomit or vomiting. So the cards all have cartoons that relate to vomit or vomiting. The words on the cards, instead of having numbers, they have words like barf or vomit, whatever. It's all basically vomit related Uno. And so it did really well because there aren't that many fun ways to
I'm
engage
sure there
kids in
aren't.
play when you're doing emetophobia exposures.
Uh,
So I was able to take those cards. So there's the printable version that you can buy it, print it, cut out the cards, laminate them, play them with your kids in your office. And then
mm.
I was able to make a playingcards.io specific file and get those up on that. So when people buy
Love
the
it.
digital version, they buy the file. It comes with the video instructions on how to upload it into the platform and how to play it there with their clients, and how to make sure that they keep it so it's kind of HIPAA compliant. So those kind
Yeah,
of
and you
details.
created that video talking them through
Yeah.
all
Oh,
that,
yeah.
right? Yeah, you
I'm a
created
big
that.
proponent of making your things more. So
Mm.
instead of having a one-page PDF, and I do have them, my free things are usually one-page PDF kind of things, but making it more. So even with my I Am Mandala, which is it's a printable workbook, and it prompts kids to explore their strengths and emotions and all these different components of their identity to create an I Am Mandala. But even with that one, I have a Loom video that I've recorded to here's how you can do it digitally using Canva, kind of those things. So
Oh,
how can
love
you
it.
make it more instead of just here's your thing, you got your thing, because that's what
Yeah.
everybody does. And I want
Yeah.
my business to be remarkable. I want people to be like, what I got is amazing. And so I'm always thinking about how can I make it a little more, even with Stranger
Mm.
Thinks, which is basically it's a slideshow for telehealth, but there are printable take-home tool things. So the tools are on a printable sheet. You can email it to the kids so they can practice the tool at home. Like, how can you make it really stand out,
Mm.
because there are millions and millions of one-page PDFs out there.
Yep.
And again, there's nothing wrong. There's value in those, but it's not what I wanted Emotionanigans to provide.
Kim, that is you said so much there that was such pure wisdom. And it makes me think this is going to be a really big, you've got something like what, 9,000 people in this Facebook group now, something like that?
Yeah, inside teletherapy and counseling activities for kids, kind of a mouthful there, but
Yeah.
that's my free Facebook group. And I think we should be hitting about 9,400 people this week. So we've got a
Okay.
lot of people, a lot of fun things. I share, again, curate, they're not all my resources in there. There's no way I could keep a group with just my resources, but I curate resources in there. I share resources from around the web. I share my resources. Um, and I also have my email newsletter, which that comes direct to your email box. I know everybody isn't a Facebook lover. A lot of people are probably opposite. But
Right.
my email newsletter also contains, I usually write a little something. We played a game last week, guess a number game. So that was really fun. And then I also have curated resources in there too. So
Ah,
those are the two ways that I kind of connect with my community right now, is the Facebook group and my email newsletter.
wow. Um, and those feed each other, right? So from the
Yeah.
Facebook group, people probably sign up for your newsletter, and from the newsletter, you can always send them back to the Facebook group for more. And this is kind of an unusual model because you aren't just promoting your own stuff; you're promoting other people's stuff too. but you have the numbers there that when you have something that sells because the value is tremendous, you're making money from that, right? You're making money without it being exclusive, which is interesting.
Yeah, I mean, because the way I consider it is that it depends what you're working with your client
Yeah.
on in your session. So people have all different needs. I can't provide something for every single need that's going to come up in a child therapy session. But I can source the internet for free resources. Usually, I usually share free resources. Occasionally I'll be really impressed by a paid resource, or it's someone I'm connected with or have an affiliate relationship with, and also really
Mm-hmm.
love their resources.
Mm.
So, but in general, it's free resources that I'm sharing in the Facebook group, and the free resources I'm sharing in my newsletter. The paid resources are generally my resources, or again, someone I have some sort of connection or affiliate relationship with.
And when you say affiliate relationship, you mean that if somebody buys their product, you get some kind of small
I get a
percentage from that.
commission.
You get a
Yeah.
commission, right?
Yeah.
You know what? It strikes me that the way you have approached this whole thing is totally from an abundance mindset. Like you are selling your own stuff. And when you said, I want it to be remarkable, I love that because what I'm hearing is that I want the value to be so outstanding that they would be like, why would you not buy this? This is incredible. You're
Mhm.
getting a lot for this. So that's a thing. That's one way to stand out. But you are not, I'm so conscious that in a traditional business model, we talk I have never really believed in competition. I don't really think that's a thing. I think there's plenty of business out there for everybody. You have to find the people who are right for you. But what you are doing is you are sharing free resources. You're uplifting other people. You're saying, hey, y'all, there's lots of ways to help. Here are some stuff. And also, here's mine if you want mine.
Mhm.
So you are literally promoting what might be seen as, quote, competition to your own stuff inside your group that you're managing,
Mhm.
which is
Yeah.
that's pretty radical
Well,
if
I'm
you
not
think
an
about it.
expert in everything. So if somebody's looking for
I
something
love
on
it.
anger management, that's
Yep.
just not me. That's not, I mean,
Yep.
obviously through my long career of working with kids, I've done anger management work, but it's not what lights me up. I'm not going to
Yeah.
make a lot of anger management resources, but there are people that is their thing. They
Yes.
love helping with kids with anger, and they've got a ton of amazing stuff out there. And so to get people to want to be part of my community, I really feel like I need to be full service. I need
Yeah.
to provide for what they might need for their kids, for their kid
Yes.
clients, versus just, here's the, I don't even know if I'm at 9 or 10 things right now, but here's the 9 or 10 things that are in my store. And I'm just
Right.
going to repeatedly blast you with them.
Over and over again. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
seems like the quickest way to become irrelevant that I've ever heard.
Well, I mean, it strikes me that in my group practice that I ran, I kind of had that philosophy from the beginning. I was like, I, if I can't help you, I want someone else who's here just down the hall who's really good that can help you. And I wanted to make sure that I had all kinds of different people who did all kinds of different things. Mostly because I just wanted to make sure that whatever you need, I knew somebody good that I could trust, that I could refer you to. I wasn't even thinking of it as a business at all. I was just thinking it was totally about value, right? It was in alignment with what I cared about. So I can't help you with that, but I know someone who's really good and she's just down the hall. Let me give you her name. And that ended up being a huge strategic advantage for us. That's how we became known as the go to resource in town because no matter what you needed, somebody there was good and would help you, which is what you're doing. It's the same kind of idea. And it's
Yeah,
totally from an abundance place. I love it.
yeah, because when I tap into my core, whatever, I don't really like the word purpose, but my core kind of direction, my arrow that's leading me forward, it's
Yeah.
again that we're creating a world where kids grow up loving themselves. And then it's always got the word together in there. Together, we're
Mm,
creating this world. Together, we're creating this world
mm,
where kids can grow up loving themselves. I don't know all the ways to help kids learn this stuff. There's no
yeah.
possible way. Plus, the ways are evolving constantly. But if
Yeah.
we're doing this together, we can create this world where we're giving more kids the opportunity to grow up loving themselves. And when
Yeah.
I keep that as my North Star, my pointing arrow, it makes all my other decisions easier.
Can you tell me? I want to talk just a couple of technical things real quick
Mhm.
because before we finish this conversation, we're talking low price digital products,
Mhm.
right? So
Yes.
what's the range of prices that you would say for your own products or for the others that you're promoting in the group? What's the range we're looking at?
Yeah, currently, my products on in my shop, the lowest price one currently is Unboxing Emotions, and it is $3.50. And it's the one
Mm.
I talked about, this kind of the scavenger hunt for telehealth on your screen. And the most expensive ones currently are going to be around $19, and those
Wow.
are my digital toss your cookies, because it just the tech involved in the digital nature of it means it's just priced higher. And then currently, which the price is probably going to change as I evolve this product, but this year I launched my Spark Organizer, which is a digital organizer built on Notion, which you can keep all your therapy resources inside of. And it helps you to you put them all in. You can link to your Google Drive if you need to. You can put website links, and it has this dynamic filtering feature where you can find exactly what you need that's in your database
Wow.
versus just having all these things. I know I've collected all these 8 million resources, but I don't
Yep.
know what's in that pile over there or what's
Yep.
in my Google Drive. And it's filterable. So if I had a teen and I'm like, okay, I have a teen today, I don't need telehealth, but we're working on anxiety. You can filter your database after you put your stuff in there and be like teens with anxiety, and maybe you want it to be a video, and it will bring up just those things. You can see what you
Mm.
put in your database. It's just teens for anxiety with that's a video, and you can see exactly what you have and if it's something you wanted to use in your session. So again, saving
Wow.
time, giving you ease, making things fun and cozy, like that's underneath everything too. But that will be evolving again because I just launched it. It's currently 19, but it's not going to stay there.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but currently, yeah, we're talking things that really support therapists and are, depending community mental health, different people have different financial levels, but my intention is they're more affordable than some other options.
So y'all, for this to work, so something I want to highlight here is that there's lots of different ways. There's lots of different ways to make money. There's lots of different ways to have different income revenue streams in your practice. Direct service, one on one, 1 hour at a time with one client is one way to do it. This is there's support groups, there's in person stuff, there's retreats, there's digital products, and you can it's very common to do a course or a mastermind that's going to be $2,000 or $3,000 and up. And I'm a huge fan of those ideas because there's a lot of depth to those things. You get a lot of quality and a lot of a rich experience in those kinds of things. I've paid quite a bit more than that for some of the programs I've been in. So there's one way to think about your practice is that you can offer a program that is a really high level of service and is priced at a premium level. This is the other end of that spectrum. And there's a place for all of this out there. So low ticket digital items. And in my mind, I think of like $97 and down, like under $100.
Mhm.
What you're talking is like really low, $3 or $4 to up to $20. That the way that's going to work is a matter of scale. You have to have the numbers for this to be worth your time. That's the key here. And is if you've got an audience built in, which Kim does, she's got literally thousands of people that are in this group that she has curated, that she's worked to build. If you got thousands of people, you don't have to sell that big a percentage to make some money off of that. So it's a matter of scale. If your numbers are smaller, you're doing more VIP level work or more one-on-one kind of stuff, then you probably need a higher price item. There's no right or wrong way here. It's just a different way of thinking about it. But I love Kim. I have always thought therapists could really supplement their income by offering low ticket like resources for their clients. And parenting is an easy one to me because there's so many things to teach for parenting, right?
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. And I think it is just, one, allowing it to change, but anchoring to your vision of what you want to create.
yep.
Because what I want to create is something with a really great foundation that is
Yeah.
not time or location dependent for me. And that's what I
Yeah.
want to create now. What I wanted to create in the past was different. I've shared those stories, but what I want
Yeah.
to create now is something that's time and location independent. And
Mm,
so, what does that look like for me? And
yeah.
there may be value in if you see that being something in your future, but the time isn't right yet. Like, get on Teachers Pay Teachers or Etsy and just start a little something. Maybe you'll make enough to go out to dinner that month or something,
Right.
but you're starting to build an audience because, yes, Wendy, you're absolutely right. If you're going to go low ticket, if you're going to go things under $100, you need volume.
Mm-hmm.
I am still working on that. I get probably about 5,000 people hit my website a month, which is good, but it needs to be more. It
Mm,
needs to be more people finding it, more people seeing it. I have the great luxury of getting a lot of word of mouth advertising. My major presence, as I've said, is on Facebook. People share my stuff a lot. I see them sharing it. I pop in and I thank them when I see it because,
yes.
again, it's about making remarkable products. Remarkable products take time and they take
Yeah.
energy. So I am not on the fast track with this, but I see where it's going and I love it and it excites me.
Yeah.
But you're right that it's not for everybody. If you need to be making money right now, you need to be going for something at a higher price point and something that probably, involves a little more of your time and your time in that moment with one-on-one with a client or a customer or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you
Yeah.
also reminded me that I forgot to mention that I offer consultations. When you were talking about the price of
Oh
things, I
yeah.
was just thinking about my digital
Yeah.
products. But I
Yeah.
do offer one-on-one consultations for therapists or people that are interested in setting up a digital product shop. I don't know
I'm so
anything
glad
about
you
fit.
mentioned that. I
Yeah.
wanted to say that because as you're talking, I'm thinking there's so many things you're saying here that people can learn from. So many
Yes.
things. So
Yeah.
good.
So I don't know anything about physical products. I haven't gotten into that yet, but anyone interested in digital products and how to set up a digital product shop and all of the um, tech and all of the specifics. Yeah, I
Yeah.
I love supporting people one on one with that. I've got it's always fun for me to hop on those calls.
So if somebody wanted to reach out to you or wanted to connect with you and wanted to take you up on that, maybe look into a consultation, what's the best way for them to reach you?
I think there are two ways that are the best way to reach me. One, if you're a child therapist or a teen therapist, um, hop into my Facebook group. It's again teletherapy and counseling activities for kids. I think Wendy's going to link to it in the
I
show
will.
notes.
Yep.
Um, and the other way to connect is to go to my website, which is therapyactivitiesforkids.com. On that page, you'll see the opt-in for my newsletter. So again, if you're a child therapist or teen therapist, you can hop on there and you'll get my newsletters with tons of resources and special offers and all that good stuff. And they're also all my products are obviously on that page. You'll see the products, the Spark Organizer, and there's a link if you're interested in a consultation. Um, and
Right.
there's a contact if you need to just email me and reach out. So the best ways
Excellent.
to reach out are my Facebook group and my website, therapyactivitiesforkids.com.
Very good. Very good. Thank you for that. We will have all that linked up in the show notes below for sure. And I encourage you guys to go and look because it is a long one. That's a long title that may be
Yeah.
hard to remember if you're driving while you're listening to this.
Yes.
So just when you stop somewhere, look in the show notes. We will have it linked there for sure. Or just Google emotionanigans.
Yep.
I bet they can
Yep.
find
If
it
you
that
could
way as
spell it,
well.
that's what I was like so hesitant, but I love the name so much. And I'm like, oh, spelling, but I love it. So we went with it. So
I think
yes,
it's great.
emotionanigans.com does exist, but most of the stuff's on therapyactivitiesforkids.com because it's easier to spell.
There you go. There you go. You're really good at the naming stuff, which I am not. So I love
Oh,
that. I love that. So I think we've covered a lot of ground. We've talked about the evolution of your practice over time and learning how to pay attention to your energy and what brings you joy.
mhm.
We've talked about giving yourself permission to make the changes what you need, but what that you need to make when they come up and not wait until you are forced to make them. Just give yourself permission. It's if it feels like it's time, it's time. We've talked about like that to stuff was really important to me. And the whole sort of honoring what you want. And you've talked a lot about making sure that you know where you're going. Like what's the vision? What is the thing that matters to you in this time? Um, and the benefit of low cost digital products. If I'm getting ahead of myself, I'm talking too fast. Um, which I think is a tremendous untapped product or untapped resource or opportunity. Let me put it that way. I think the use of low cost digital products, adding that to what you offer in your private practice is a huge opportunity that not nearly enough healers take advantage of. Because we live in a world where people are used to getting help online now. We are all used to it now. So what if you're in a session with someone and you go, you know what, I've got a really great exercise for that. Go find it here. It's $4.99, whatever, but you can get it here. Like, why not do that? Why not do that?
I'm going to give a shout out again,
Yeah.
lifting others up. I joined a new marketplace. It's new. This is when, as of time of recording, it just launched. So as the time people are listening, it should be a little bit more evolved, but it's exactly what you're talking about. I am a paying member on it, but I am
Hmm.
not affiliated with the owners in any other way. It's called worldofshortcuts.com. And it's
Huh.
all this. It's all low ticket products for everything: gardening, pet care, parenting. It's a marketplace that has just launched that I think is going to be fabulous because of the amount of resources on there to just tap into whatever the quick question is you need an answer for.
Yeah. Love it.
So
Love it. Yeah. That's great. That's good to hear about. I haven't heard about that one. That's
yeah,
good.
it's brand
Awesome.
new.
Yeah. Kim, thank you so much for taking the time to share all this with us. I love how intentional you are about it and how excited you are about it. You've got lots and lots of good stuff going on here. It's really exciting to see.
Thanks.
You and I hadn't talked to you in a few years since we were in that group together, and I saw your stuff online. I'm like, good Lord, she's got it going on. What's happening? Which is why I reached out to you. So it's really cool to see how far you have come and how much you have grown and all the amazing ways you continue to create and recreate yourself and your business. It's really cool.
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
I always like to ask people at this point, is there anything with all the stuff that we've talked about? Is there anything that I have forgotten to ask you? Is there anything that we didn't cover or anything that you just sort of feel called to share that would make this conversation
I
complete?
think I just want to reiterate one thing and then share one new thing. So for
Okay.
the more, creative, or that's probably not the right word, the more right brainy people, I'm going to tell you to follow your energy. For the more
Mm,
left brainy people, my what has made the biggest difference for my left brain side of Kim is that figure out how you like to communicate with your audience. Do you like audio like this podcast? Do you like video? Do you like writing? Do you like showing up live? Figure out what it is and then figure out how to do it exceptionally. Learn that
mm,
medium. So I love to show up in the written word. I love it. I study everything I can. When I first started, I studied everything I could about copywriting. Now I'm kind of morphing into more just writing. But figure out which way you want to communicate with your people, the people that might be interested in what you're going to offer, and really dive into learning those skills and strategies and become really exceptional at it.
mm. Man, that is great advice. That is great advice. I love that. Well, if you think about how people learn, right? Some people learn from tactile, from touching, handling, experiencing. Some people are audio learners. Some people are visual learners. You're sort of on the other side of that. How do you like to teach or how do you like to share? How do you like to connect? I love that because I love audio, I have learned. And I like to write as well, but I find that I'm too obsessive and it takes me forever to
Mhm.
like, and I took a hand at video and it was fine, but I didn't love it. I love audio. And I would not have thought of that as like, that's really good advice. How do you like to communicate with your clients? Dig into that, learn everything you can about that, be really good at that, and use that as your medium. Awesome. Thank you. What a great way to end. It's always good. That last question is always good. I love that. All right. Well, you guys, I hope you have enjoyed this conversation as much as I have. I hope you dig into her resources because I'm sitting here thinking about there's a teacher that I know who could use this. There's lots of good stuff here, y'all. Go dig into what Kim is doing And by all means, if this is something that you're interested in trying for yourself, she's figuring it out. So reach out to her and see what you can learn. There's no telling where your practice can go if you give yourself permission to dig a little deeper, right? You just never know. This is what it means to evolve over the course of your career. So thank you, everybody, for being here. Be sure and check that out below. Thank you, Kim, once again for coming. And you guys have a great week. And with that, I'll let you go, and I'll see you next time right here on Ideal Practice. Bye now. Hey, y'all. If this program has become important to you, if Ideal Practice matters, it would mean so much to me if you'd be willing to take just a minute to do one or two of the following things. First of all, would you follow or subscribe to the show here at Ideal Practice? Following me helps you because you'll never miss an episode, but it helps me as well for all kinds of reasons. To do that, all you have to do is go to the show page for Ideal Practice on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you listen to podcasts. There, just click on the plus sign that you'll usually find in the top right-hand corner, or click on the word follow that you're going to find somewhere there on that page. Of all the things, this really is the most important thing you can do for the podcast itself. While you're there, it would be extra special if you would be willing to give me a 5-star rating, and even better than that, a review with your own words. Your words matter. And when you write what you feel, what you think, you uplift and encourage others. And I love that. If you want to go a step further than that, take your favorite episode or two, one of the ones that has meant a lot to you, and share it with a friend. Could you do one or two of those things for me? I promise I will love you forever. You guys matter to me, and I value your support more than I can possibly say. Thank you, sweet friend, for anything you can do to help me out and support the show. I'll see you again soon.